Okay, so let's jump right in. If you work in the development sector or even just pay attention to it, you hear four words thrown around all the time: charity, social service, social welfare, and social work. We tend to use them like they all mean the same thing, but they absolutely don't. And that's the big question, right? Are they really just different words for the same thing? I mean, is handing out food at a drive the same as fighting for a new policy? Is writing a check the same thing as professional therapy? Well, the short answer is a hard no. And figuring out why isn't just a word game. These differences have huge real world consequences for how we see our own role, who we answer to, and the ethical lines we draw for ourselves. This is where it gets critical. So let's start to unpack all of this. We're looking at one giant field all about human well being, but with four really distinct approaches. This is a great way to picture it in your head. Imagine four circles that overlap a bit. They all share that same core, a deep concern for people's lives. But the way they work, their whole philosophy, is fundamentally different. We're going to start by looking at three of the foundational ideas here: the gifts people give, the services that are provided, and the huge systems that we all live inside of. All right, first up, charity. This is the one most of us are familiar with. It's that active giving, money, food, your time, and it usually comes from a place of compassion. It's mostly a one-way street, from a giver to a receiver. Super important, for sure, but it's just the beginning of the story. Then you've got social service. This is all about action. It's the hands-on delivery of specific help. Think running a shelter, operating a school, or handing out aid kits. This is the doing part that a lot of us picture when we think of nonprofit work. It's designed to meet a very immediate, very real need. And then we zoom out to social welfare. This is the big, big picture. This is the entire system a country puts in place to protect its citizens. We're talking about things like public health care policies, social security, child protection laws. It's basically the stage where all the other actions happen. Okay, so with that background, where in the world does social work fit? This is where we make a huge leap from just a general idea of helping to a very specific profession. And here's the absolute key. Social work is so much more than just being nice or providing a service. It's a formal professional practice. It's built on a solid foundation of knowledge, a really strict code of ethics, and methods that have been proven to work. It actually requires training, skill, and a ton of accountability. Now this is where it all becomes crystal clear. Look at the difference between social service and social work. A social service provider, they're focused on that immediate need. Let's get this family food. A social worker steps back and asks, why is this family hungry to begin with? A service provider has a beneficiary. A social worker aims to have a partner, focusing everything on empowerment and self-determination. And this example just nails it, right? Imagine a field worker for an organization like CRY. When they give out nutritional supplements, they are performing a vital social service. But when that same person uses their professional skills to assess the family's entire situation, figures out the systemic reasons for their hardship, and then uses that information to push for bigger change, that is social work. It's that professional layer built right on top of the service. Okay, so that's the theory. But how can you actually tell the difference when you see it? Let's talk about a really simple litmus test you can use for pretty much any activity you see. It really boils down to three simple questions you can ask yourself. Think of this as your personal toolkit for understanding what's really going on. We've got the why test, the who decides test, and the accountability test. So let's quickly break these down. The why test asks, are we just putting a Band-Aid on the problem, or are we trying to fix what's causing it in the first place? The who decides test is all about power. Who's really in the driver's seat here? Is it the helper making assumptions, or the person being helped making their own choices? And finally, the accountability test. Who does this person have to answer to? Just themselves? Or a professional body with a clear, published code of ethics? And as you can see, professional social work is always pushing for root causes, client self-determination, and professional accountability. And all of this leads us to what might be the most important question of all. Why does this even matter for you, for your work? Well, it's about making the shift from just being a helper to being a true professional. Because here's the thing. The words we use to describe ourselves and what we do, they are so much more than just labels. They actually shape our mindset. They frame how we see the problem, and that directly shapes what we do about it. And of course, what we do, our actions, is what ultimately creates our impact in the real world. It's a direct line. How we think about our work translates right into the results we get. So, when you choose to identify as a professional social worker, you're not just picking a fancy title. You're consciously committing to a higher standard. You're saying, I will be accountable to the people I work with, to a code of ethics, and to the evidence of what really works. And that accountability, that's what makes the work truly powerful and effective. So I'll just leave you with this final thought to chew on. How do you want to be seen by the communities you work with? As a kind person who gives things away? An efficient person who provides a service? Or as a professional partner, working right alongside them to build lasting change? Because the way you answer that question, well, that changes everything.